I was 26 when it happened. I was sitting in a cold municipal auditorium with friends and fellow activists and what felt like my entire city. The room was electric. You see, the city council was filling a vacancy after the unfortunate passing of one of our council members. And rather than holding a special election, they chose to appoint someone to fill the seat for the remainder of the term. Now, in my city of West Hollywood, full of opinions and perspectives and activism, this was almost the Willy Wonka golden ticket for someone looking to get their opportunity into governmental leadership. Over 30 people had applied for this to be appointed to this vacancy. They were planning commissioners, land use attorneys. They had lived in the city longer than it had even existed. And the city council members themselves had all served for over a decade. So when I was serving on the West Hollywood Women's Advisory Board, I had just become chair when this vacancy became available on the city council. And some of my colleagues and neighbors encouraged me to consider applying for this position. I thought they were crazy. There were so many people in line ahead of me. There were people who had worked hard, who knew the city in and out, who had been born and raised there, who knew everything there was to know about the wonderful city of West Hollywood. I was new. I had moved to California in 2004. I was originally from the Midwest. I barely knew what California culture was all about. I was from a very small town, and just living off of Melrose Avenue was a big deal in my family. So when the opportunity came for me to consider whether I should apply, I started asking myself a lot of questions. Was I ready for this kind of opportunity? Did I have what it takes to be successful? Was I able to lead a community effectively? Did I know what was best for our city? Now, as an aside, these are questions that mostly women ask themselves when they're seeking elected office. Men, it seems, are just coming right out of the womb ready to lead. But women sit and consider these questions because we want to be effective leaders. And for myself, I believed in what the Bantu language calls Ubuntu, or the spirit of togetherness. And for me, that's what community was all about. So while I had been a political science and gender studies double major, I had served in appointed office and I had served in a variety of leadership organizations. I considered my primary reason to serve on the city council was to bring that spirit of togetherness to my community. But I figured, at the very least, I would network, I would learn a little bit more about the city and get to know more people. And then with time, maybe sometime in the future, it would be my turn. I had worked on one of the city council members' campaigns just a couple months before, and he won his election. It was really exciting. I was so thrilled to be a part of it, and so many of the volunteers had said to me, you know, someday you're going to get your turn on that city council. So when this vacancy happened and the appointment process began, I thought, what did I have to lose? So that night, sitting in the auditorium, I really didn't think I really stood a chance. Not because I wasn't qualified, but because there were so many others who had so much more experience than I did. So I sat and went through what I now affectionately call the American Idol of politics, because over 30 people came forward and gave 2-minute speeches about why they loved the city of West Hollywood and why they would bring the best leadership possible to the city. Well, after listening to all of those speakers, the city council then narrowed it down from over 30 to about 14 or 16 people by all voting for their top 4. I was the only one who made all 4 council members' lists. So I looked to my right and I looked to my left and I thought, is this it? Oh my gosh, how did this just happen? So I went from being very calm and very excited to see what happened to a sheer state of panic because it was almost possible that I might actually be serving on the city council in West Hollywood. Well, from there, the city council members narrowed it down to that list. they counted out their next votes, and so they said to vote for, they dropped off whoever got the least amount of votes in the next round. And I made that cut. And I continued to make the cut. And it was really fascinating to me because I was so new. And what I came to understand when at the end of that evening, there was a unanimous vote to appoint me, a 26-year-old non-native resident of West Hollywood, to the city council, I realized that it was my fresh perspective. It was my energy. And quite honestly, it was my youth that was the attractive element to bring me to the city council. And I had that opportunity to build that spirit of togetherness in a way that almost no one else had in our community. Now, I had asked a lot of questions leading up to that opportunity. I did a lot of soul searching, and I'm sure that not every decision I made in those 2 years of service was right. I had a lot of successes. I had some failures, but I learned a lot about myself. And the thing I learned most was you have to be ready whenever that opportunity comes. You never know when it's going to happen. I know that there are people in this room who deserve to have that role of leadership, and I encourage you to run. And for those women who need to be asked, consider yourself asked. I really hope that you consider that possibility, because what your next opportunity is right around the corner, and it's yours for the taking. Thank you.